Have the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association. I'm going to turn it over to Mickey Vukovic, your moderator on this panel. Here we go.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone, for coming today. This is a very special panel here at Innoskate 2022. It's a huge pleasure for me to be up here and to introduce these individuals in this project. Back in the spring of 2020, if anyone remembers the spring of 2020 when things were normal, I was serving as executive director of the Tony Hawk Foundation when we received an application for a grant from the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association for a project in a little town that I had never heard of, but quickly looked up and learned a lot about. And having looked at a lot of different projects around the country, a number of things stood out to me and to our organization about the efforts here in Sioux Falls. Here was a situation where the skaters needed a place to skate, and what they did, instead of rebelling, instead of acting out, they got together, they articulated their vision, they approached their local leaders who heard them and listened, and together they formed a plan and executed what is now going to be the Sioux Falls Skate Park. In spring of 23?
Real quick, I want to, sorry, I can't talk about some of the other stuff that's coming up, but
Okay.
yes, spring of 23 we're starting.
But beyond that, what the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association was managed to do was to take not just articulate their vision, but to put it into a visual language that stood out to us because it was done in a way that clearly articulated what they were looking for, and that was really inviting in bringing the community, and I'm sure the local leaders, into the conversation about the need for a skate park here in Sioux Falls. And of course, the organization awarded the project a grant, and a couple of years later, we're here to talk more about it, and I'm really excited to be here to hear more about the process and the journey. So joining us today, we have Don Kearney, Walter Ports, Erica and Mia Heim, and Walter is the president of the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association, a skate park advocate, artist, and small business owner. Walter's work with the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association has earned him a special status among skate park advocates nationally for the organization's imaginative promotional materials and campaigns, which many of you have likely seen over the last few years. Don has spent the last 34 years in the parks and recreation field, serving municipalities in Nebraska, Montana, and South Dakota, and since 2005 has served as director of parks and recreation for the city of Sioux Falls. And in that role, Don was actively involved in bringing the Levitt shell to Sioux Falls. Thank you, Don. As well as many other local amenities, including the new skate park, which we'll be discussing today. Erica and Mia Heim. Erica's a mom to two skaters and spends her weekends driving their girls to skate parks.
Real quick. Maya charging.
Maya charging?
Sorry.
My apologies. My charging. So one of them is 14-year-old Maya, who has been part of the Sioux Falls skate community for 3 years now and spends most of her day skating and teaching other kids to skate in her free time. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Of course, this is the first time a large major skateboarding event has come to Sioux Falls, but tour skateboarding isn't new to Sioux Falls. And I wanted to begin today by asking you, Walter, a little bit about skateboarding in Sioux Falls, its background, and the skate scene that led up to the formation of the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association.
Sure. So, as with most cities in the late 60s, early 70s, there were a lot of kids rolling around on homemade skateboards and a handful of things you could get at the 5 and dime. And then in the 70s, there was actually an indoor skate park over on the west side of town, not far from where the private indoor park is where they do lessons. And that was not super long-lived. You fast forward to the early 80s, there was a shop called Shredder Skate. And then that was followed by the boarding house. Dwayne Versteeg had a vision for his kids and some of their friends to actually have a skateboard shop downtown. It was, I believe, in the same spot as the Shredder Skate was. And they actually facilitated, with the Parks Department at the time, a skate park that would actually travel from park to park. They put it in different parking lots. There were 2 3-foot or 4-foot quarter pipes. I was smaller then. I don't remember how big. And a half pipe that they would haul from park to park every 2 or 3 weeks. So we would have to figure out where they were going to be. and figure out how to get there. The bike trail was early in development, so sometimes that going was a little bit difficult at the time. You follow that up, after that ended, there was a pretty long gap, and that was really during the street skating boom in the maybe early 90s through, I think the first park was built right around 2000, give or take. It was in an old tennis court over here. At that point, there had been Worldwide Skate, there had been North Star with Micah and our friend Jeremy, who passed away not that long ago. A couple of other shops that kind of came and went through the years, and then we, about 20 years ago, built 2 parks a handful of years apart. One over at Keene Park by Roosevelt High School, and then one over here at Drake Springs. And those are both still standing. Both are showing their age. Those type of above ground wood and metal skate light structures aren't. That 20 years is about the shelf life of those. It might even be pushing it quite a bit. Yeah. And in the Midwest where we have winter and all that stuff. So, and it's a challenge. It's a Parks Department has a challenge to try and figure out how to maintain them. Keep the skaters happy, but also like you can't always invest in brand new things when you're doing all this other stuff. So that's kind of the history of what's happened here. As of right now, the skate shop thing is a little bit murky, but we've got some local businesses that are stepping up and starting to provide some of those services as well. So, yeah.
Nice. And who's involved in the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association?
So about between 5 and 6 years ago, Jeff Zuger and I came together because a bunch of friends said that we needed to have a conversation because we were both talking about the need for a skate park. So Jeff and I were the original founders. We have a whole bunch of skaters involved that got involved early. The whole sewer crew, DJ who teaches lessons, Dad who's back there, Brandon who's around, Paige, Brenna back here with Dad back there. And then we kind of accidentally recruited Alex Johnson into the fold. She already was a friend and kind of a personal workhorse on some other things, and she showed a real enthusiasm for it. She doesn't skate, never has skated. She says she was always the lookout for the skaters, but definitely an integral part of our community. So really, as of this point, that there's a bunch of us involved. There's a handful of us. Les Cotton, who did all the design work. All the design work you see here. Les Cotton, he'll be doing some art over there. So it's all community, mostly skaters or skater-adjacent folks, as the primary kind of movement forward for the organization.
It just goes to show that the skateboarding community isn't just skateboarders, right?
And, I forgot to mention one, Allison Dvorak, who is a local architect, that once she caught wind of what we were doing, she's like, I know Canton Russell, we need to connect you guys. And that was really actually a big catalyst for us figuring out the puzzle pieces, too.
And Mia, when did you first get interested in skateboarding?
I actually got introduced to it through my sister, who happened to be at That Sounds Decent together, and she got connected with DJ over there. That's him. He can wave. And so from there, it kind of just started. I started like a month later than her, and that's how I ended up getting into it, and we've been in it ever since.
About 2 years ago?
Yeah,
right?
about 2.5, yeah.
And was it intimidating?
What was that?
Was it intimidating?
Yes. It's very intimidating, like, I guess, going into, like, even, like, a local park for the first time, I guess, because you're surrounded by people who at first are, like, a lot better than you. They've been practicing for a lot longer, so, I mean, it's very intimidating to, like, get out there and keep pushing yourself.
And did you feel welcome?
Yes. That was one thing that was, like, very clear from the get-go, is that when you walk into a skate park, doesn't matter what skill level, if you're trying something and someone else is there, they're going to cheer you on and they're going to be excited for you.
Nice. And that goes for the men there, the women there, the boys there, the girls there?
It doesn't matter who you are at all.
Nice. Erica, what was it like seeing Mia take up skateboarding?
It was really exciting. I was kind of envious, actually, because you grow up as a girl here in Sioux Falls, and there's not a lot of skaters that were female, and you watched guys skate all the time, and you're like, wow, they're so cool. And then watching DJ kind of introduce this to these girls and give them an avenue to learn it and feel confident in it and not be intimidated was just awesome to watch the progression. It was cool. It's been awesome.
Can I add to that? And that really has been an integral part of our movement.
And Erica, were you concerned at all, or?
I don't think I was. She's a gymnast since she was like 5 or 6 years old, so skateboarding didn't seem even, I don't know, I feel like I was more worried about her in a gym than I was on a skateboard. Yeah.
Interesting. Don, did you grow up skateboarding at all?
Yeah, I actually had a skateboard, and I grew up in a family of about 6 other siblings, so we had a skateboard and we all used it. And what was kind of cool is I had a sidewalk out in front of my house that actually had a big ramp on it because there's a big, huge tree that popped up the sidewalk that kind of made a built-in ramp for me. So I was involved in a lot of other activities besides just skateboarding, and kind of caught that craze in the 70s when I was growing up. And so I did, but not for a lot of time, because in my hometown, small town, northwest Iowa, there weren't any facilities to skate. And so you were just kind of whatever you could find out in the streets or in your driveway or whatever it might be. So.
And from your perspective, what was unique or what stood out about the skaters and working with them as an administrator?
Well, I think, if you think of the more traditional sports, and baseball, softball, football, whatever it might be, whether it's flag or tackle or whatever, there's an organization that already exists. And so they're structured. Some have executive directors, and they're very organized and been around for a long time. Whereas the skaters were just they would come in groups and no real formal organization to it until really what I would say Walter came along and just said, hey, I want to be part of this. I want to try to advance a new skate park here in Sioux Falls. Can you help us identify a site where we can put it? And so with Walter came organization and collaboration and unifying of the skating community. And we're here today, and we're getting ready to build one. So I think Walter being the catalyst for pulling that all together. I'd also contribute the mayor's name, Mayor Paul Tenhaken. He was a skater growing up as well, and he was very supportive of the skate park. The city provided funding, and everybody was working together to collaborate to really make it happen. So, but it is a little different because most of those other sports, there's an organization that already exists, and so it's not unlike what we have a new organization that just formed, is this off-leash dog owners association. Well, they wanted a voice. We said, well, get organized. So they formed a nonprofit, and now they're organized, and we have people and points of contacts that we can work with instead of these one-offs all the time. And so we have that now with the skate park.
Yeah, ragtag is a badge that skateboarders wear with honor. But for skateboard, it's a great point with efforts like skate parks. Skaters and any group really, they need to organize and select a spokesperson or spokespeople in order for the officials to be able to liaison with someone and have some sort of sense of organization, right?
Can I add something quick to that? I think that it doesn't. I'm seeing it in another community that I'm having some conversations with, but it doesn't always necessarily have to be a skateboarder. It's somebody who can see this vision and can advocate for them. Somebody that will speak up. Somebody's comfortable speaking up.
A non-skating member of the skateboard community.
Yeah. A non-skate. Sorry.
So Walter, what's the importance and the role of the skate community in Sioux Falls?
I'm just even looking around at the people that have been here today, the artists over there, Corey DJing over there, DJ Absolute, all of the creative community in this town, is the food community. You've got Chef Lance right across the street, who I grew up skating with. You've got Barry down here at Bread and Circus. We've got Carla Santi, who runs a tech company, a tech advertising company, and all of us came from skateboarding, or the skateboarding community. We've got Catherine, who's the head of the Levitt here. I mean, the head of the board, and she, got in some trouble skateboarding with me one time. So, it's we've grown up, right? We've infused ourselves into the community, just like anyone else, right? But we take risks and we're interested in doing some of these other things. So it's provided us a pathway to be adventurous with what we do in this world and be wanting to be part of communities, not just the skateboarding community, but the community of the Levitt, right? Like we see that vision in different parts of the community, you know, with restaurateurs and all of this stuff. And we become advocates, and we're not afraid to speak our mind, but we're also able to do it in a way that is hopefully most of the time not abrasive.
Right. And these days we're parks directors, we're mayors, right?
Yeah.
We've infiltrated.
I'm coming after you, Don.
So how was the idea for the Sioux Falls Skate Park initially taken or received by the community?
Sorry, that wasn't the exact question I thought you were going with. You know, initially, without going into too much detail, previous leadership of the community wasn't too keen on the idea. My first interaction, I presented to a previous mayor, and he was not interested. And so I was fortunate enough on my way out of that meeting to have a conversation with now Chief of Police John Toom, and he's like, forget about him, we need this skate park, make it happen. And now he's the Chief of Police, so clearly it's like he's doing something right, and he gave me just this little inkling of a boost to be like, he knows, he's on the street, the mayor has no idea he's not, I mean, current mayor has an idea, but the previous mayor just wasn't, it wasn't something he connected with.
It's interesting, as you know, some of us growing up as young skateboarders and being chased around by police everywhere, some of the most ardent supporters of skate parks are police officers because they understand the solution it provides and that offers.
One other quick thing I want to say, sorry to add to that, is just that the business community, pretty quickly, small business community, was into it. And then as we grew, we were able to communicate better through partnerships and communicating that as we got bigger and bigger and the vision got bigger and bigger. You know, people started to see it. And you know, the people shooting video and photo content for us and less doing the design work, like really helped solidify the vision for it and allowed us to present it in a way that wasn't entitled, that was inclusive and inventive, like I think you said, but just thinking about these kids and the other kids in the community who could use this. So that was an integral part of it, is telling that story.
And I think that's a key part of the success of your project and getting people's attention was, you know, that visual material that you produced that drew people in to read more about the project and hear your story. And I think the importance of that can't be understated, and anyone who's interested, you know, certainly look up the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association on Instagram and other social media and look at some examples of the materials you're putting out and the way that you're communicating, the way that you're pulling people in and as you said, being inclusive. Don, what was your initial reaction to the idea of a skate park?
Well, in my time here in Sioux Falls, going back to 2005, you know, there's been several people that walked through the doors of Parks and Rec and said, hey, I'd like to do something with skate parks, and I'd really like you guys to start doing more. And one of the first questions I often asked was, well, what are you willing to contribute? How are you willing to be involved? And really didn't get a whole lot of feedback, because in Sioux Falls, what we believe in is public-private partnerships, and we believe in making sure that the players have skin in the game, and it's a true partnership that way. And so, you know, bless their hearts, they had every intention and every goodwill in mind with regard to trying to advance, you know, getting additional skateboarding facilities, but really didn't have the leadership capabilities at the time to really be able to pull together to say, okay, we're going to get organized, we're going to really ramp up our efforts until, again, Walter got involved. And I went back, and after talking to Walter, I said, geez, I think this can finally happen, you know, because Walter got involved and he was rallying the community, rallying the skating community, and really brought the leadership in order to be able to show the city that they were serious about it, they were willing to put skin in the game, and really partner on a new project.
So a key lesson is to, you know, choose your leadership and choose wisely.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, sometimes it just takes the right person to come along to make it happen. And obviously, we got that with Walter.
And when will the skate park be completed?
Well, we're going to start next spring, and I don't know if we've essentially got a date, but fall?
Most recent is end of August, early September. But that can, I mean, we could have a great February and something could go right and we could be ahead of that, or we could not get frost out of the ground till May. So just depends.
Summer-ish, 2023.
Late summer, yeah.
So Walter, tell us about like where is the skate park going to be? What will it include? What will it look like? What should people be excited about?
Yeah, I'm kind of, it's phenomenal that it's happening. So we worked with the Parks Department. One of the early parts of the process was to say, okay, where can we put a skate park? What's acceptable to you guys? What do you envision? We looked at really honed in on a couple locations. Initially, we were hoping to do it under the bridge downtown. Identified some problematic issues with that. So we started looking at other parks. And I think we all were kind of in agreement that it needed to be somewhere very visible. Just from, the two skate parks we have, one of them isn't terribly visible, and there's some issues not with skaters, but with other stuff going on there. So we wanted it to be a very visible location. So that was an integral part of finding that. And can you repeat the question? Sorry, I kind of went on a little bit of a...
Where is the skate park going to be? What will it look like?
So it will be at the corner of 10th and Cliff, so near Drake Springs Park. And it will be in the neighborhood of 25,000 square feet. We're still early in on the real design. We have a placeholder design. Our vision for it, working with Kent and Russell, was that we would incorporate a series of bowls, if we could afford those. Those were the additional component. The rest of it was absolutely necessary. So it's looking like we're going to get a couple, 2-3 bowls that are kind of intertwined that will be at the top of the hill. So right up at the corner of 10th and Cliff. And then from there, Canton and I had a conversation about the unique geographical feature in the falls that we have here and how we could incorporate the layout of the falls. And, the water kind of pools at the top and then it terraces down. I think a lot of skaters of my generation think about Embarcadero as kind of the plaza, that we all kind of worshipped as kids. And so this idea that we could create a plaza style from there, it would both mimic the falls and terrace down, but also give us all of those levels to skate. In addition, on the falls, if you look at the right-hand side, there's a channel that comes down, and we're going to do like a hubba with stairs and rail down there. And then Kent wants to include, and I agree, some of the quartzite, just to add that to the feel and the architecture, as we do with a lot of things here, but in a more unique way, I think, than we have before. And then up front, there'll be a big, wide-open street skating area that's got several obstacles, but really importantly, plenty of room for everybody to move around. A lot of times you try and force too much into a skate park, it gets kind of crowded and difficult to ride.
And seating areas and ledges and places to hang out.
Absolutely, yeah. And with kind of inherent with that plaza terrace design, you get a little bit of that, because some of those will be less skatable than others, right? Because they're higher up or whatever. And then yes, having visible seating, having good lighting, so we keep it open after dark. Critical part because skating is difficult when it's like this out. But in those last first couple hours of darkness are perfect. So that's kind of the vision.
Nice, because after all, skate parks are a social space too, right?
100%.
Mia, are you excited about the skate park?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've been excited since day one. I think we've been trying to get some funding done since I pretty much started. Absolutely. But it's going to be nice because Keen, the one we have now, is made out of wood and is obviously starting to fall apart. Same thing with Drake is made out of metal. It gets very, very hot in the summers. Like, you can burn yourself on them. So now it's like going to be really nice to have a place where it's better for the skate park to last longer and it's heat appropriate and it's well functioned and designed.
Shade structures.
Nice. And will you be teaching others to skate there?
Most likely. It just depends on like the weather and stuff like that, but it just really depends on what comes about.
Eric, are you excited to have a single place where there's going to be a lot happening, the whole skate community is going to really be gathering around?
Yeah, we travel a lot to skate parks, and we go to Des Moines quite a few times a year. Spend a lot of money going, and now it'll be really nice to have somewhere where we can all hang out together or drop them off without having to drive to Des Moines those trips are fun. Don't get me wrong, that's kind of, a lot of the fun, but it will be nice to have something right here that's pretty special.
And Walter, if you're not a skater, how does somebody connect with the skate community here in Sioux Falls?
Honestly, the easiest way to, if you want to communicate with us, connect with us, is just to follow our social. In particular, our Instagram, I think, is the strongest place, easiest place to connect with us. Anytime we have events, come out, celebrate, get involved. You know, this isn't the last skate park we'll build in this town. And we'll need all the support going forward to do it. I mean, I picture this big skate park and some other smaller satellite skate parks and just, you know, getting involved in the community in any way. You know, something we've done from the beginning is, and Alex is a big driver of this, but like making sure we celebrate the other parts of the community that aren't just skateboarding. You know, we've got a lot of different cultural aspects that are maybe underserved in this community, so we can do things to provide for them or interact with them in positive ways, you know, and just be part of the community. I mean, even if it's not just us, right? Like this city is a skateboarding town as of this weekend.
Oh, I think it's been that for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
It'll be known as a skateboarding town after this weekend. So, I mean, in addition to that, what else is you know, in store in the future for the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association beyond skate parks, more skate parks?
Sure. So we exceeded our funding goal, which is exciting. That will allow us to not worry too much about like where the budget is. We still have to keep an eye on it, obviously, but we have a bunch of different visions. So there's visions and community members who want to invest in the visions of either lessons or after-school programs. The city school system is moving their after-school programs back to the schools from external facilities, and we've already targeted a couple of schools that we're thinking would be good matches, but we really need a park first because we have to stay focused on that. So we're looking at next year, probably doing some of that stuff, and we're kind of assessing different opportunities to help other communities with the lessons we've learned and with the materials we've created. And I think there's just so many opportunities, more skate parks, you know, kind of endless opportunities.
And what's your website?
Let's-skate.com.
Let's-skate.com. So for anyone interested in pursuing a local public skate park, definitely check out let's-skate.com to see how the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association achieved their dream of a new skate park here in their town. Other resources include skatepark.org, and also in any region, any town that you live in, if there's a local skate park or a local town that's achieved a great skate park, look into who was involved there, and I'm sure more than likely they're going to be more than happy to help you out with your project as well.
And reach out to us. I mean,
yeah,
we're more than happy to share information. I mean, I want skate parks in every city.
And with that, I'd like to thank our guests, Don, Walter, Mia, and Erica, for joining us today, and thank all of you for joining us as well.
Thanks.
All right, we got some skateboarding resuming over there on the street course. In 1 hour at 7 o'clock, invent your own skate video with the Belladonnas. 7:30, the Dessa concert. That is on the main stage. On the opposite side of where we just had this panel, I want to say thanks to Mickey and all the representatives of the Sioux Falls Skate Park Association. Always love hearing about that and what they're doing in their community. Right now, we're just going to have some skating, check out the vendors, walk around. Oh, and over in the art alley, apparently there's some screen printing going on. Go check out the art alley. The guy's been over there working all day with that live installation, creating that artwork. Go check it out. 7 o'clock on the other side, the main stage. Invent your own skate video with the Belladonnas, and 7:30, the Dessa concert. Thanks for being out here at Innoskate at Sioux Falls. Been a super fun day. We'll be out here tomorrow again, starting at 11 o'clock with some music. Panels tomorrow at 12, 1:30, and 3, and a best trick contest at 4 4:30, that is. And then we have a visual sound on the main stage. Got Chris Pastures here from Stereo Skateboards and this guy named Jason Lee. You may have heard of him. That's going on tomorrow, but today, 7 o'clock, on the other side, on the main stage. I want to say thanks to our friends at the Smithsonian, at the Lemelson Center, Levitt at the Falls. I'll run off all the sponsors right now since we're doing this. Sanford Health, USA Skateboarding, Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, Ray and Vera Conniff Foundation, South Dakota Humanities Council, Tess Kirby, Rayfield's Art and Framing, Downtown Sioux Falls, the Arts Council, the Sioux Falls Arts Council, Avera Health, Schulte Subaru, who brought Bucky Lassick, who's over there. Go hang out with him. Talk about cars, talk about skateboarding. First Premier Bank, David H. Horowitz Fund, Jones Building, P&M Steel Company, Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society, Sisson Printing, Click Rain and Lemonly, and South Dakota Arts Council. All right, DJ Absolute, it's all you. Got you for another hour. Thanks, everybody, for being here at Innoskate at Sioux Falls.
the party